Hello, this is Daniel Mart, and today I'm going to be doing another discussion topic. This one's going to be for Scream Season 2, and basically, the big question, who is the killer? Who is Ghostface? Who's the killer? So yeah, now last year I did a 30-minute video, give or take, discussing my thoughts on who the killer was. And in that video, I guess I've set a precedent, I suppose, for these type of videos, because in that video I discussed who would be the killer if it was one killer and who would be the killer if it was two killers. So that's basically how I'm going to do it. So again, the first half of the video, give or take, is going to be if it's only one killer, and the second half of the video, give or take, it's going to be if it was two killers. I'm going to give my evidence, give my reasoning for each one, and yeah. Now, onto the first part, what if it was only one killer? So for the first part, I'm going to be doing the one killer theory, if it was only one killer. Now for this part, I only have 5 people, 5 people who I think could be the killer. And I think my number one option, I don't know if it's going to piss people off, but it is going to leave a bit, some people questioning. So yeah, now first off, probably the most out there theory, especially with what we saw in the last 2 episodes, episode 10 specifically, and that is Zoe. Now, many people are going to be like, well, what the fuck? She's dead. My counter is, she could have faked her death. Now, we do know that the killer somehow got the audio information, and the only people who had that audio are, before being sent to Emma, were Audrey, Noah, and Zoe. They were the only ones who knew of the audio, and Audrey was pretty pissed at Noah for even having it. And we did see Zoe email it to herself, so there is some evidence backing that up, okay? Also, she could have been manipulating Noah just to get evidence for the killer, stuff like that, see how far behind Noah is on the killer's footsteps, I guess, if that makes sense. She could have just been tracking Noah to see how much he knows about the killer, in this case, the killer being her. So yeah, again, and also right before Noah was stabbed, the killer did use her phone. So there is some evidence, and I feel like it isn't really out of her character to manipulate people. She kind of did it when she split Audrey and Noah apart. I feel like she kind of do it. She does seem to know a lot about psychology, as she is one of Miss Lane's best students. It has been pointed out early in the season that she is one of Miss Lane's best students, and she knows how to manipulate people. So honestly, it wouldn't be that much of a surprise in my opinion. Just how she faked her death, I think, would be the best thing that they need to clear up if Zoe is a killer. Okay, that maybe she faked her death or something. I don't know. That's the one thing that really has a lot of people questioning. How would she have faked her death? I'm not saying it's not doable. She definitely could have done it, but hopefully they give us a proper explanation. If it turns out to be Zoe, I hope they give us a proper explanation. So there's that. And as far as I know, and I don't know that much about the Scream franchise as a whole, when it comes to the movies and all that. I've only ever watched the first Scream movie, and I guess, so I don't know if they've done this before, but would it be really cool if the killer turned out to be someone who faked her death? Even if they did that before in the movies, I feel like it'd still be a pretty cool reveal. So yeah, now in this one, for number 4, I go with Kieran. So I feel like he has the best motive. He has some of the better motivations out of anybody. Specifically, he just wants Eli out of the way. So in theory, and it's one of those things. It's kind of tricky. He kind of wants Eli out of the way. Because he did it. The killer, we do know, attacked Eli and Emma in that house. So he burned the house down in hopes of killing both of them. And I feel like maybe if it was Kieran, he'd want to kill Eli more specifically. Now you could argue that he was the one in the costume back in the fun house when he came out, and it looked like he was framed, but that's the thing. Maybe he looks like he was framed. Maybe he was disguising himself to be framed, and maybe he faked himself being captured and all that. So, that's some more evidence for Kieran. Also, apparently, MTV, they have this kind of poll. They have like this questionnaire, this poll, saying, who do you think is the killer? and Kieran is the one with the most votes. Like, I think it's the most votes with like Stavo, right behind. And what I mean right behind is like it's like this. It's like, let's say, Kieran has like 1,000 votes. Stavo has like maybe 125 votes. Like, that's how much the gap is between first and second place. I don't know the numbers exactly, and I'm not even sure if Stavo was the second one. I feel like he had the second or third, maybe he was the third one, but he had one of the bigger bars as well. But Kieran had the biggest one out of anybody else. So yeah, I mean, his motivations aren't the clearest in my opinion, because you also have to figure out who, because it wouldn't make sense for him to kill Jake, in my opinion. So I mean, in this season they've only killed 4 people with Zoe including. So, they killed Jake, or is it 2 or 3 people? I forget. They killed Jake, Zoe, and the hotel manager. The hotel manager, I feel like that guy's just kind of a scapegoat. Like, I feel like he would have died either way. So you have to have someone who has enough motivations to kill both Jake and Zoe, and attack the rest of the group. So aside from Eli's side, I don't feel like he has the best motivations, but I still put him there because it seems many people believe he is the killer. And maybe also, the first time around, earlier in the season, when they're in the carnival, where Emma's looking for Audrey and Noah, he kind of comes out of nowhere as well. So there's that, and he could have just gotten closer to the police just to see how far behind they are when it comes to their research on the killer. So there's that. Okay, now number 3, I'd have to go with Stavo. Okay, let's be honest, creepy motherfucker. How's about we start off with that? He's probably he's the creepiest, arguably the creepiest character we have on this show, next to Eli. So how's about that? I'm gonna take this off for now. Now first off, one thing that you do need to point out is the fact that he draws people dying, or he draws dead people, because there is that one story of his friend dying right in front of him, and him getting a notebook and just fucking drawing him dying. So there is that. Also, he has a good motivation for wanting to kill Jake. We do know that he likes Brooke, so maybe he was jealous of Jake, kills Jake, then tries to comfort Brooke. Like, I feel like he could do that. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things. He probably could do that. I could see him do that. So there is that. Also, he is one of the more philosophical characters in the whole series. When it comes to philosophy and stuff like that, I feel he is one of the more philosophical characters to come out of the show. Like, is death really that bad, or what? It doesn't really matter how we die, and stuff like that. Like, I feel like it is within his character to do stuff like that, or say stuff like that. Also, right before, I don't remember if it was right before or right after Haley's death. I think it was right after Haley's death. Stavo kind of comes out of nowhere. So there is that. He kind of comes out of nowhere in the party scene back in episode 9. He kind of just comes out of nowhere in the party, and we don't see him get out. We don't see him leave. He kind of just appears from out of nowhere. So that is something interesting to note. Now, what are his motives for trying to kill Zoe? I don't know. That one. I feel like, here's the thing. When it comes to Zoe, like, I could think of a bunch of reasons as to why they should kill. Why anybody want to, aside from Kieran aside, I have a bunch of reasons as to why people want to kill Jake. Zoe, on the other hand, I just don't see a reason why anybody will want to kill Zoe. So that's the thing. So, and then the hotel manager, I feel like he's just a scapegoat. He's kind of just caught there in the middle. So he's like, oh, you're here. I don't want anybody finding out. Kill. So, I mean, that's a whole different situation. So, you really have to look at Jake and Zoe's death. Like, why would you want to kill them? Also, when it comes to Eli, Eli and Emma in the house. Again, that's more on Emma's side, I feel, in my opinion. So, yeah. Now, number 2, I'd have to go with Eli. Now, first off, he did get a bit close to Emma throughout the season. He did kiss Emma, if I'm not mistaken, during the house party. And he is the one who gave her the idea of Kieran wanting this big party. You should throw a big party for her, and then for him, and then Kieran, kind of being obsessed, like, oh, it's Eli's idea. Okay. Why'd you listen to Eli? So it's kind of one of those things. Maybe he just wants kind of Kieran out of the way. Also, he does have a restraining order against him because he stalked a woman. He stalked a woman. I don't remember if he. I don't remember if that's all he did. I know he broke into her house and stalked her and stuff, but I don't know if he did anything else besides that. And that's another thing. He knows how to break and enter. We saw him, aside from having history with the police, we saw him break and enter into that house with Emma. So there's that. And we also saw him. He also has all of Audrey's letters. Okay, so he also has a bunch of Audrey's letters that he sent to Piper. Why would he have them? He has no reason to have them. Furthermore, he was also at Will's funeral, which was back in season 1, when nobody knew him except for Kieran, and Kieran didn't even know he was around that area back in season 1. And he also has a reason to kill Mayor Maddox. I forgot about him too. He's also the only person there to want to kill Maddox, because Zoe, I guess you could argue, has a reason. Zoe kind of has a reason to kill Maddox, kind of not really. It's kind of one of those things. Oh, let me prove to you that this town is a total shit spill. Kieran has. I don't see a reason why Kieran would want to kill Maddox. I guess similar to Eli, that they're being evicted from their house, but that's more on Eli's fault than Kieran's. Stavo, maybe just because he wants to. He's fascinated, sure, but Eli has the best reason, because he's being evicted, and really, it doesn't really seem like Kieran's gonna leave Lakewood anytime soon. It seems like Eli's more likely to leave. So yeah. But number one, it's one of those things I kind of just thought since like episode 3. She has, and I'm saying she has to be the killer. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Eli. But it's one of those things I just have a gut feeling. Number one, Brooke. I thought this I forgot Branson also died in the season. Holy shit. But again, we're not. Okay, very fast. Zoe, she may have a reason to kill Branson because she's like kind of feminist, and she knows Branson's a womanizer, so there's that. Kieran has no reason to kill Branson. Stavo, he's a creep. He's fascinated by death. Okay, so he could just kill anybody. Eli, he has no reason. I don't even think he knew Branson. But Brooke has a reason to kill every single person that was killed in this season. Okay, take the hotel manager aside, because again, he was kind of a scapegoat. He was kind of a patsy. The manager, everybody has a reason to kill him. He's in my territory. Not time to kill him. But if you go down the list of everybody who's died, Jake, she got pissed off. Just think about it. She got pissed off at Jake because they were arguing and whatever. She went mental and decided to kill Jake. Mayor Maddox is her dad. She hates her dad at this point, so it wouldn't be so much of a surprise to kill her. Branson cheated on her, and she was the only one who knew where Branson was at that point as well. So there's that. There's the manager, Zoe. Zoe is a little bit hard to pinpoint, but I guess since it's one of those things that since she's lonely, nobody else should be allowed to have love. And really, the easiest one to start off with would be Noah. So I guess Zoe, she doesn't have the best excuse to kill Zoe. But you could make one up, okay? Also, she's the only one, and I may be forgetting this, but I may be, and even after that, she had Stavo, but it's one of those things, like, Zoe's maybe the only one complicated for that one, but you can make something up for her. But she's also the only one to have been attacked by the killer. Everybody else has been attacked by the killer, like, Noah's been stabbed. I mean, he was kidnapped one time, and then literally almost killed the second time, buried alive. Emma's been attacked several times, Kieran's been attacked several times, Audrey's been attacked, Jake was killed. Like, Eli was also attacked as well. And that's the thing, like, Eli, like, that's one thing you counter on Eli, like, he was attacked, so it wouldn't make sense. But yeah, so I feel like Brooke has the best reasons to kill everybody she has. Also, she hasn't been attacked, not that I remember. Also, in the party where Haley was, granted, the person Haley was gonna bend over and give someone a blowjob, granted, so you could say, by that logic, the killer has to be a guy, but not really. One, that could have been just and I don't know anything about sexual lesbian positions, so sorry if I get this wrong, but maybe it could just be something, just touch her down there with her tongue or whatever. I don't fucking know. I'm a virgin, who knows. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Maybe to sexually arouse her there, or maybe she had a dildo. I mean, granted, I don't see Brooke going out with a girl, but who knows? I mean, she's been with two guys, pretty douchey, but still. So there is that. I feel like I've always felt that Brooke is the most likely option. Now there is some evidence against her, like especially with the Haley stuff, giving her killer a blowjob. It's probably the biggest evidence against it. But I feel like also she's been kind of MIA for most of the season. She kind of wants to prove that this is basically Murderville, as she said in her huge beauty pageant speech, that this is Murderville. So what better way to prove that this is Murderville by killing a bunch of people? So yeah, yeah. So I've always felt Brooke was killer since like the start of the season. There is evidence against it at this point, some evidence against it, but that's what I've thought. So what are your thoughts on for this part of the video? You know, the one killer theory. Who do you think it is? Zoe, Kieran, Stavo, Eli, or Brooke? If you think it's someone else, comment that down below. Now onto the two killer theory. Okay, and now for the two killer theory. So similar to the one killer theories, I'm gonna go from least likely to most likely. So yeah, now this first one, I don't really know where to put it. I feel like it's gonna be in the middle. The first one I'm gonna say right now, I feel it's more in the middle because I kind of discussed this with the one killer theory. I just don't know where to put it, but I feel like I need to kind of point it out. And the first one is going to be Haley, which is again the girl who was killed at the party at the school, or you know, the sisterhood of whatever school. It's gonna be Haley and a guy. Okay, now I didn't really know who to pair her up with, and yeah, I just feel like she did say special friend. Now she has a reason to kind of go after the Lakewood Six, I suppose, or just anybody related to the Lakewood Six. She has a reason to go after them, in my opinion. She tried to prank Audrey, didn't really work out so well, and now she's kind of pissed. You know, Emma kind of humiliated her in front of the school. Okay, so she has a reason. Furthermore, she did say that she set up the party along with her special friend, and as I said before, she was gonna give a blowjob to her special friend. The thing is, I just didn't know who to pair her up with. I can't really see anybody talking with her. That's the thing. I don't really see anybody really talking with her, planning this out. Now my first thought was maybe Stavo, but they haven't really communicated to each other at all, not from what I remember. But then again, you know, maybe that makes sense. Maybe because we haven't seen them talking to each other, they're the most likely one. So I was thinking Stavo. I also thought about Maddox at first, but now that they're both dead, like we could tell they're both dead, it just doesn't make sense. Then Kieran, but Kieran doesn't really like Haley at all, especially with her trouble with Emma. But again, similar to Stavo, you know, just it would make sense. Maybe it would make sense for them to communicate because it'd be the least suspect. You'd be the last one to suspect them. I also thought of Eli, similar reason, they haven't really talked, but Eli also has more of a reason than anybody to actually go after the Lakewood Six. Although it's out of pure jealousy, he does have a bit of a reason to go after them. And then I also thought of Acosta, because he is a police, maybe corrupt, who knows. I just don't think, I don't know, I just want to go with, I feel like it has to be a guy. So, and I just don't know where to put this one either, so I'm going to put this one all the way at the bottom. So yeah, Haley and a guy. Well, which guy? I have no idea. I don't really know who to even pair her up with. Okay, so yeah. Now next up, I have Zoe and Stavo. Again, Zoe could have faked her death. Stavo, Stavo. I feel like they're both manipulative. I do feel like they have similar traits between them. They do have similar traits. Maybe they don't really care for who they're with. Noah and Brooke, respectively. Maybe just that. Also, we haven't really seen them talking to each other, but as I said before, maybe that's to, maybe them maybe the show not showing us them talking to each other means that they are the pair. So I thought of that, but I couldn't really spin them anymore. So yeah, I mean, again, they don't really have the best reason. Well, I mean, Zoe doesn't really have the best reasons to go after them. So any of the Noah aside, they don't really have the best reasons to go after any of the other people. I mean, Stavo could have gone after Jake, but whatever. Next up, Stavo and Noah. Again, similar traits. Also, who knows? Maybe Noah. Noah could. I mean, they're both very hard to read. Not many people know what's going on in their heads. So maybe, and it could also harken back to the first Scream movie where one of the victims was also the killer. So you could say, hey, Noah is a victim because he was stabbed. He's been attacked. He's been stabbed, and his girlfriend died. Maybe you take away the attention from him. Turns out he is one of the killers. That'd be really fucked up. Also because he is the one controlling the investigation, so to speak. So it would be interesting to see that. But again, it's one of those things. They don't really talk that much. However, if you do see the conversations between Stavo and Noah, if you see it in this light that they're both killers, the conversations become oddly sadistic, in my opinion, because they're just talking about these pop culture theories, but they know what those pop culture theories mean. So it'd be really sadistic, in my opinion, if they have their own secret code. So I put them on the list. Now next up, so that's Stavo and Noah. Next up, I have Stavo and Acosta. So kind of father and son type of situation. One of them is fucked up. The other one has all the utilities to murder these kids. And it would be interesting because, especially if you think of it under this light, they are father and son. So you have father who's the leader, son who's the actual murderer. So it's father's like, hey son, kill these people. That'd be really interesting. They also have the best resources, and similar to Noah, Acosta is the one leading this case. Noah is the one who's leading the case for our main cast and crew, but on a, I guess, legal level, police level, Acosta's the one who's leading the investigation. So it would be really interesting. I mean, he has suspected his son, but I feel like since he's a police, he has to suspect everyone. He is suspecting him out of love, I suppose, because he knows if he doesn't suspect him and then people find out there's evidence against him, it'd be kind of weird. And it's like, oh no, I don't want to suspect my son. It'd be kind of weird even if there is clear evidence. And then that would just be more interesting because, oh, Stavo will be thinking, so you're suspecting me? You're suspecting me. Okay, fuck you, I'm out. So it would be interesting. Again, just if you think of it from a different light, different angle, it would be interesting. So yeah, now onto these two. I have a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of evidence, but I'm more convinced, in my opinion. Now, first off, these two, Kieran and Eli. So yeah, now again, it does kind of harken back to the original Scream in some degree, where one of the killers was attacked before, so you could go after that. Also, from what I remember from the original Scream, the two people who were killers, they were kind of opposites of each other. I wouldn't say they didn't like each other per se, but I do remember them not being on the same page, so to speak, or they didn't seem like they were on the same page. Kind of seemed like they were kind of opposite to each other. And that'd be kind of interesting, especially since Kieran, especially when you think about it, Kieran is voted as the most likely to be the killer. And Eli is definitely up there as well. I mean, granted, as I said before, there is that gap between between first and second place, where it's like 1,000 and then 150. I mean, granted, there is that huge ass gap, but that is something to kind of take into account, that Kieran is voted as most likely to be the killer. So that would be interesting. Also, them fighting between each other could just be them kind of putting on a show. Again, you could have Kieran dressing up as a killer, during the festival. If you see some of their actions in this new light, it make a lot of sense. Granted, you do have Kieran. I mean, and also, if you think about it, Kieran giving the letters or showing the letters to Audrey and Emma, and then Eli looking at him as he comes back, and it kind of be like, oh, so he finally did it. Okay, now I know what my next play is. So it's kind of like that. Like, now, who will be the leader in that situation? I don't know, because I feel Kieran will take the lead, but Eli is more manipulative. Granted, and he's probably the killer more likely than Kieran. So I feel like Eli will be the leader in that situation. So yeah. Again, I feel like for most of these, you have to look at these at a new light. If you look at it from a certain angle, these characters' communications and kind of change a lot, in my opinion. I'm not just, I'm talking about Haley and the random guy, Zoe and Stavo, Stavo and Noah, Stavo and Acosta, Kieran and Eli, and last but not least, Brooke and Stavo. As I said before, I want part of me wants Brooke to be the villain. I mean, I just feel like it's perfect setup at this point. I mean, granted, they did have the stuff with Eli towards the end of in the last few episodes, but I just feel it's just great setup for Brooke. And even after that, this is how I see it. I don't think Brooke started off with an ally. Let's go with my theory. Brooke didn't start off with an ally. I feel like she killed Jake, then Stavo kind of got involved. She convinced Stavo to do her bidding, and yeah, I feel like, and at the end, Stavo was doing everything under Brooke's command. I feel like Brooke would be the mastermind. And let's be honest, for the average viewer, you would not believe it. You just would not believe it because Brooke has been portrayed as pretty fucking dumb, especially in season 1. She was pretty dumb. Like, she was kind of in the air. She did get smarter as the season progressed, and even in season 2, she did get smarter. But even after that, she's still kind of an airhead compared to the rest of the Lakewood survivors, or just some of the other Lakewood citizens. I mean, she still is, in my opinion, one of the, I wouldn't want to say dumbest, because she is pretty smart, but compared to the other ones, other characters, she is still one of the most dumbest characters we've had. But if she were to be the killer, it just shows how smart she is, and that'd be really interesting. Now, again, I feel like Brooke would have started off the killings by herself at first, and then kind of convinced Stavo to do her bidding afterwards, okay? And so, yeah, and also, so, yeah, I feel like Stavo would do anything for Brooke at this point. And again, there some of the other reasons, as I said before, you know, Brooke being MIA, Stavo kind of being a creep, you know, it just kind of makes sense, you know, and also, and both of them have the best reasons to kill the people who were murdered in this season. Maddox, Jake, who else did we have? Branson. They tried to kill Lane. Them trying to kill Lane is one I haven't touched upon because I don't really know who would want to try to kill Lane. I mean, sure, she is kind of a creep, but I don't see anybody killing her, so, yeah.